All right, I am now going to show you guys how to do 3 different techniques that you will use on your scratch art. Now, first I'm going to show you how to do them on paper with just a pen, and a pencil, and then I will show you how to actually do them on the scratch art. So the first technique I'm going to show you is called hatching. Okay, so I'm going to show you kind of the do's and don'ts of hatching, and I'm going to demonstrate it with a pen and a mechanical pencil, and then I'll show you on the scratch art. So hatching is just a series of short lines going in the same direction. Okay, now it can go diagonal one way. Should probably make that a little bit bigger so you guys can see it. So you can have it going diagonal one direction. Okay. Or you can have it going diagonal a different direction. The key is that they all just go in the same direction. They can go vertical or horizontal. Now, depending on what type of ink pen you use, it really just depends on what it looks like. So this is a really fine tip zebra pen. It's like 0.7 millimeters. If I was to use a like gel pen, you can see it has a little bit different look, a little bit darker. Okay. I would say my other pen is a little bit of a softer look. This is definitely a darker look. Now, in your art kit, I did supply you with some markers. They're fine tip markers. You can use those as well, and use practice. So hatching is lines going in one direction. And like I said, it can be diagonal, either direction, vertical, or horizontal. Okay, they only go in one direction. So this is with a pencil. I am not a fan of mechanical pencils. However, if you are going to do anything that requires hatching, a mechanical pencil is going to be the better option because it's a finer tip. Using a regular pencil, and I'll show you what that looks like here in a second, becomes very like blocky. So mechanical pencil just looks cleaner. So if this was like a regular pencil, and it is obnoxiously loud. If you hear your marks like this when you're using like a pen, it means it's kind of, you're going a little too hard. You shouldn't hit the paper this hard, especially if you're using like the felt tip marker. But when you're doing it with a pencil, you can't really avoid the sound. Okay? So this is a mechanical. Hopefully that's spelled right. So a lead or graphite, technically pencil, a mechanical pencil. This is gel, and then this is ballpoint. Okay, you guys have some markers as well that are felt tip pens that you can use. Okay, so this is hatching. Now some don'ts. Okay, these are bad things to do, and I will show you with probably the gel pen just so you guys can see it easier. Sometimes what people do when they're doing the hatching is they kind of just scribble back and forth. That's not hatching. You'll notice that there's these little loops, like curves, okay? This is bad. Do not scribble. Another thing some people do is they like go so fast they're doing like these weird check marks. Okay, we don't want that either. So no checks, no scribbles, okay? And then something, depending on the style of art that you're doing, but in most cases, you do not want a pattern. There are some situations where a pattern is important and you want that pattern, but in most situations, you do not want a pattern. So I'll put a little star next to that, because most situations you do not want a pattern. Okay. So these are all correct, not correct. So now I'm going to show you hatching, what hatching looks like on scratch art. Now in your kit, I gave you guys the wood one. I also gave you a paper clip. Okay. I'll show you what that looks like. Now there are other scratch art tools available out there. They are definitely more expensive. So I could not buy one for all 180 of you guys, but they're ones that we use in class. So I'll show you what those look like, so you kind of have an idea of what is out there. Now you are not required to go and buy any scratch art tool. I give you the wood one and a paper clip to help you out. If, however, you're just really into this and you want to get your own scratch art tool, Michaels and Joann's usually has them. They're usually not very expensive, but that's completely up to you, and you do not have to go and get one. Okay, this one's like. So I'm going to show you what hatching kind of look like on a scratch art. Okay, so this is going to be our hatching examples. So I have 4 different tools here. These ones are pretty common. You can usually get these, like I said, at Michael's or Joann's. They just have kind of a thin metal tip. So these ones are pretty popular. They're shaped like a pin. These ones are a little bit less popular, a little harder to find. They have a much sharper point. And then the wood one is pretty common. And then a paper clip is a nice little trick. You could also use a thumbtack, like a little thumbtack, but because they're so small, it can really like cramp up your fingers. So you really want to be careful about that. Okay, so I'm going to show you with the tools that you guys have for hatching, and then I'll show you how the other ones look a little different. So with this wood tool, some of them are a little bit pointier than others. If they're a little bit pointier, they do usually work a little better. But sometimes you have to kind of figure out how this is going to work. Wow, and this one is just not wanting to work. Okay. If yours is not scratching, you might want to take it outside and then on some concrete, kind of just sharpen it a tiny bit. Do not sharpen it to a crazy sharp point. I don't want anybody getting hurt. But sometimes you need it a little bit sharper so it works. Okay. And trust me, I wish I could give you guys like the best ones out there, but this is pretty much what I was able to send home with you guys. Okay. So they can be a little bit annoying to get started. Oh my gosh, this is just... Okay, mine is not working at all. That's wonderful. So like I said, I don't have concrete with me right now. You can kind of rub them on some like concrete to sharpen them up a little bit, but don't overdo it. The paper clip I find actually works really nice. So you can do your hatching lines really nice with a paper clip. Okay, so we can go diagonal either way. This is why I provided you with a paper clip. I've never been a big fan of the wooden tools but it is what I can send home. But the paper clips, so I just unravel it like that, work really nice. So they're actually really thin, which is really helpful. If you find that it's not scratching, you can kind of just rotate it and it catches a different edge on the paper clip. Oops, I'm doing that way up top. Sorry about that. So you can see this is all done with the paper clip. I could not get this one to work. I think it's just a little too smooth. So if you have some sandpaper, or just take it on some concrete and kind of just rub it so the edges get a little bit more messed up, because they make these in a factory, so they're pretty smooth, and you actually need it to be a little bit like sharper. So if yours is not working, try rubbing it on some concrete or some sandpaper, and that should help it out. The paper clip is wonderful. If your tool is not working at all, but your paper clip is, you can always like tape it to create a little bit larger handle. Okay, so tape your paper clip to the wood tool. Now these are ones that you can actually buy. This one, I know they usually carry these guys in Michael's and Joann's. This one might be a little harder to find. So this one is basically like a hybrid. So you can see it's just a stick but with a metal point. And it does pretty much the exact same thing as the paper clip, but more expensive. That's why sometimes paper clips or thumbtacks are just the most amazing thing. Okay. This is a tool, like I said, is really common. Oops. See, I made a mistake. What's nice about this one is you can use it kind of going different directions. You can go this direction to get a little bit thicker lines, or even kind of at an angle to get some thin lines. It really takes a little bit of time to figure out how to hold the tools to get the right kind of scratch. Now, when you guys are working with this, do not dig hard. You do not want to put pressure, barely any pressure, to scratch off the ink. If you can start to feel the plastic underneath being ripped up, you're pressing way too hard. Okay, and it'll start to mess up the look. Okay, so that's how we do hatching with the different tools and paper. Okay. Next, I will show you cross hatching and then pointillism.